Anyway, so elevating your brand relationships, I have a little bit of a lecture and then I have a tool inside of this presentation tool too that we can use. So let me get past this part. This is another presentation that I did. Is this the right one? Yeah, this is the right one. Okay, so let's do this. So my little lecture part of this is I have what I call WIN, I guess, as an acronym for how to have a good relationship with your brands and your sales reps. And so W stands for work collaboratively. I mean, right, we're all here. It's important to know and keep in mind that while we're here for good relationships and we're here to have fun and smile and all of those things, we're actually here to like work together to make money. Like we are in business with each other. I'm not going to marry you probably. I'm not like, I might go get drinks with you, but that is a benefit of the job. It's not necessarily what should be like pushing us forward. Like what should be pushing us forward is working collaboratively, oh my gosh, it's the end of the day, collaboratively together and making money together. Because your sales reps, if you didn't already know, your sales reps make commission on what you buy from them. And so if you buy a lot, then they're going to spend a lot more money or they're going to spend more money on you, more effort with you, more time with you. If you don't buy that much, then they probably won't spend that much with you. So work collaboratively because we're all in it to make money. Invest in the relationship. I say the I stands for investing in the relationship because in a professional setting, it is our duty to have a relationship with these people where we know how they work. Like if you need my orders by a deadline, you need to communicate to me what the deadline is. And then I need to try really hard on my side to like bring it all together. As long as we're clear with those expectations and how each person works, then the investment in the relationship can be pretty easy. But if we keep mysteries and secrets from each other, then that's not good. And that's not a healthy way to do any kind of business. I'm going through this kind of quick because it's the end of the day and my brain's a little shot. I don't know about y'all. And then the N in WIN is negotiate effectively. So negotiating effectively, once we decide to work collaboratively, once we have invested in the relationship, then like negotiating effectively should be pretty much like the next step in the process. Like I know how your brain ticks. I know what you're motivated by. We're in this to make money. And so if it's important for me to have a big marketing event or to have really beautiful imagery in my store or to have a sexy new window cling on the front, like I need to be able to maybe negotiate those things into the store, into my, my buy. Or whenever you see your sales rep and you submit an order, or you're catching up about how the seasonal selling is going, these are all things that you can tell and negotiate with your brand on. So negotiating can look like a lot of different things. Pretty standard negotiations can look like extra discounts on your purchase orders. It can be extra dating on your purchase orders. There's dollars that brands can give you credits for on your invoices, and they might be called like marketing co-op dollars, and marketing cooperative dollars are spent by the retailer to boost the brand and the retailer's image. So a great example of that, like North Face used to do a lot of marketing co-op dollars. I'm not sure if they still do or not, but the intention is that you would take that co-op budget and you would spend it on like North Face would give you print ads with your store information on it with a North Face graphic and a North Face picture, and then you could put that in the newspaper or you could buy a Facebook ad with it. But the idea is that the brand gives you money and then holds you accountable for spending marketing dollars in a pre-approved way. That helps both of you guys in the long run. Other ways that you can negotiate with people are markdown dollars. So again, that's another type of credit that can be on an invoice. So in that example, let's say that a brand comes out with a really exciting new product and it's kind of risky and you're like, I don't really know if I want to do that or not. So the riskiness of this product, you might need some assistance on the back half of this. And we call that markdown dollars. The idea is that the brand gives you money or credit on an invoice that ultimately makes the cost of the product more affordable for you so that you have more margin dollars invested. And then the markdowns that you take don't sting as much because they made the product more affordable for you. Those are the immediate ways that come to my brain about negotiating. But have you had the chance to negotiate something that's kind of creative or has been a custom solution for your stores in the past that's worth sharing?
I had to negotiate with my wife.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's one of your vendors. That's a service provider to you. Yeah. Anything in particular for you?
Yeah, as far as like negotiating, I think not pricing. Like, I know like people are trying to be desperate, like sell you stuff, but then but usually you work with brands, like you have your standards on there, so there's not really too much room, but I actually don't know anything about like marketing or any of that on the back end. I know probably other ways to work items on the front ending, like at least in the inventory back. Oh, if you're gonna refund me half of that to keep it.
Yes.
There's that, that's the other factor. Oh, you rather, instead of having you stock in your warehouse, you're gonna pay me to keep it, and I'm not gonna give you 30% of what's left on it. And I still keep that merchandise, and if it sells, it sells. So many of you pay me back for it, and I'm only to pay you 20% of the price.
Yep. So yeah, I'd call that even like a merchandise credit, even though it's pretty much the exact same as a markdown.
Refund you, sure.
Yeah.
Well, we sold. I don't have to ship it now.
Yes.
It works.
And it's a huge time saver too, because then you're not putting the payroll time and energy of managing all of that. So yeah, product swaps can be another point of negotiation. There's footwear brands that do this. Sunglasses do it pretty regularly, but like a sunglass rep, especially if it's a $50 price point or higher. But there's sunglass reps that will legitimately have sunglass inventory with them in their car, and then they'll do a fill for you, if you will, or even take oh, you've had this style for a while, it looks kind of dusty or it's got scratches, so let me replace it for you. Yeah. So those are nice pieces of service that are kind of custom to what your needs are as a retailer. So sometimes you can get kind of creative with what some of your needs are. So an example, you bring up landlord, an example of my husband and I invested in an income property a long time ago, and come to find out the woman that was selling it lived in Colorado, and the unit was furnished. So I kind of put that in the back of my brain, because I'm like, man, it would be really nice to just have to keep the furniture and not have to move stuff in here, because it was on the second story, and then it's a loft with a spiral staircase. And how in the world do you get a bed up a spiral staircase? I don't know. So I was just thinking man, it would be so nice if we could just have this furnished the way that it is. So I'm thinking man, that would be really nice. And so come to find out, the woman selling the condo lives in Colorado. We go through the process of inspection, and there's a few things on inspection that are worth a couple $1,000s in the grand scheme of things. So rather than talking money with her and renegotiating money, I tell the realtor, instead of asking for help on the repairs on the inspection report, I just want to keep her furniture. Because she's from Colorado, she probably doesn't want to fly down here to take care of it or hire a friend or move it or donate it or whatever. And the realtor looked at me, and I will never forget. She's like, "You are crazy. This woman, she's never going to say yes to this." And I'm just like, well, just ask her. Will you just do me a solid and just ask her, because you're making a commission off of the service that you're providing me. and come back, 6 hours later, the seller immediately said yes, because she didn't have to put any cash towards anything, and to her it was a fair trade. So you just never know what people are going to say yes to, and depending on your motivations, if they match back to your brand's motivations, then you might be able to get some creative processes taken care of, and maybe a little bit more leverage than what you had before. The second part so that's the win. It's really short and sweet of winning and elevating your relationships with your brands. But inside of the slides, there is a link to a tool that I have that's called the scorecard. And just like you get a report card in school, it's important to kind of evaluate our brands, our vendors, and sometimes just like keep track of the service that they have been providing for us. And so in the PowerPoint slide, I have a picture of the scorecard, but mostly what's important about the scorecard is it has three kind of main areas. The first area at the top is just the stats of the buy and who's managing that brand. So it's just like the name of the brand, the name of the sales rep. It's just like a report card, right? Like it's nothing all that spectacular, but it does help you it helps you keep all of your notes straight. And the idea is that you would have a seasonal scorecard for each one of your brands or each one of your sales reps that help you do business. And my idea of using a scorecard is like when it's time for me to start strategizing what my next buying season looks like, I'm kind of evaluating everybody. And then when I have a set of these scorecards, then like when I have it established, if I keep those on file, the next time around that I go to see that brand, I can look at their past progress. I can reevaluate where they are these days, and I can see if things have gotten better, if things have gotten worse. And those can be, and like any special notes that I had in talking with them, and that can be just a nice starting point in conversation. So anyway, I wonder if it has a...
So we're going again. I don't know how. I noticed it, so I figured I'd turn it.
Yeah, my other one cut off a little early. I wonder if I'm running low on space. But okay, so yeah. So if brands are really hot, sometimes they get we give them a little bit more leeway or forgiveness with operations or bad selling report or bad selling support because they sell so well. If it's a hotcake thing, if it's selling well, if it's making me money, then it's going to get a 5 on the product. But maybe their sales support is terrible, so I'm going to give them a 1. Maybe their operational support is terrible. I'm going to give them a 1. But it's up to you to figure out where does the 5-star versus the 1-star matter. Like, do you want to, I mean, we all want to make money, don't get me wrong. But if you're making money, but you're spending 3 hours on bad invoices, or if you're spending 4 hours on returning merchandise or trying to figure out a receipt or something, then are you making as much money as you thought you were because you're investing in payroll hours? And then alignment and synergy. This is kind of a sneaky one because there are brands that don't have the same goal as a specialty retailer. So again, kind of going to that massive brand that doesn't really want to help a specialty retailer, like we're not going to have that much alignment. We're not going to have, like, they're probably going to go off map price and they're going to advertise and promote to customers. And then my customers, when they want that brand, when they come in the store, they're going to be like, hey, it's 30% off. Will you price match? And you're like, oh my God, I had no idea that it was 30% off. And then you feel obligated to price match and the alignment isn't there. So if that's another piece, if it's habitually, like if y'all's end goals don't match up, then maybe overall the brand is not a good fit for you. And you'll be able to tell if the brand is a good fit by how you rank them on the sheet. So it's just like, this is a unique thing that not a lot of retailers do. It's very subjective. Yes.
Where it says fairness across dealers,
Uh-huh.
what is that referring to?
So, to be really direct with that, there are,
different businesses, right? So.
well, it would be like,
Promotions.
yeah, so have you heard of REI? Like recreational?
No, not Aria, but yeah.
So they're like, REI, we would consider that a national big box brand versus the small mom and pop shops, like the one person owner, right? So a lot of brands will give REI a special deal, but they won't give it to the specialty retailers.
Almost like when you did like non-meats, like when you have somebody taking over that market and they're like HEB and they put all the small ones out for Corset, for a contract for Corset, and they sign that non-meat, they got it.
Yeah,
So
that can happen as well. But yeah, it's usually, for me, it's more like they treat a big business differently than they treat a small business. And they give the big business like obvious, like,
Preferential treatment.
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like they don't know you from that. Like I think that's like kind of like the sentiment I feel when I work with most sales reps.
Yeah.
That's why I steer away from like bigger brands. Like it's just even if you're walking up to their booth, they're across the board, doesn't matter how many shows are. If you're not their number one, they know their sales space, even though you know you're not in their territory. They will just assume without asking any questions where are you located. They're almost pre-qualifying you prior to me even getting my questions out. But when I have like questions like, can you tell me where it's imported, where's manufacturing at, what is the quality of the clothing, what is the percentage, I see it's like poly, is it polyester, blend, is it cotton? Can you tell me a little bit more, how are they selling? What is your return rate? What is the success rate? They can't give me any of that information, but they're easily ready to dismiss me.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not until we start almost like I have to shot fire major, what are our minimum, maximum, what are the, can we, is that an open now? Can we come, because like I have some people are just like large, extra large. Can I choose that? Okay, are they minimum 3 per big, and how many styles for that? Then it's like, okay, now we're speaking the language, you're acceptable, let's talk.
Yeah.
But it's like you have to give so much energy to those brands where I can easily go to a smaller Texas brand, drop money on them, and at that point I'm so turned off by that interaction that I'd rather not give you any money and not work with you, because if it's a process like this up front, I can imagine how the service is on the back end.
Yep.
And are you even gonna get back to me? Is that gonna be a 48-hour turnaround when you finally get around to like, oh, she's on our lower spending list as opposed to.
When did you open your store?
About a year ago.
Okay.
I've been selling work for about 4 months, going on my 5th.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
So you are what I call a COVID buyer. All you know is being open during COVID. And being open during COVID is a lot different than normal. So when you were open during COVID and when you were selling and doing your website and selling on your website and everything, you were trying to procure product during COVID, and that was the hardest time in all of history to secure product, open a brand, try and get merchandise. It was the hardest time.
Like over the last, like as far as like, the experience, this is all
So they're
starting
still going through it, they haven't.
January. Like this is like more like in person at buyer events, specifically this event. Like I had the same experience in June with the Tom's reps with like, and it was just more of the brands. There's like certain swimwear brands, or okay, let's look at the look bit, but the willingness to work with brands without even knowing who I am.
Yeah.
And me like trying to work with sales rep is completely different, which always for me, and I still go back 2 or 3 times just to see if I'm still gonna get down to the same thing. Hey, because at the end of the day, I'm interested in the product and not in your service.
Mm-hmm.
I want what I want.
Yeah.
I know what it's gonna sell for my customer.
Yeah.
But at what point, I'm like this like skill rating, is at what point am I gonna have like the bad service? Like my dog
Tolerate for sales.
It's kind of way to make
Yeah.
sense for what I'm gonna buy to deal with that headache and frustration.
But I think you're hitting the nail on the head with, if they're really resistant to open me as a new account, how are they going to treat me when I am a new account? Like, what is the service? You said it earlier. What is the service that I'm going to get from these people?
Is it the fact that I have to scale at a certain percentage within maybe a short gap? We're looking for a quarter, and now you see me scaling, and now you're like, oh, well, now we're dropping more money, and now you get treated fair. At that point, I don't want to work with your brand.
Yeah.
Like, I'm more likely to work with the brand that I work with a direct brand owner, one, we can negotiate better. Hey, you have sitting inventory, let's try putting it in my store, let's rotate it out, let's see if I can market and push it for you, as opposed to, okay, this is our valve seller, we don't have it, like, yeah, we integrated, now we're on a back-end system, but we just upgraded to that system, but yeah, we don't know those numbers offhand. There's sales reps that will work for you as a business owner, and then you have other people that are just in it for money. And it's sad because it really gives you like a really good indication of the brands that you want to work with. And it could be a great brand, but at the end of the day, are you going to work with it? I think this is like the most useful thing I've seen. Like, because there are ways for me, like MAP, let's talk about the MAP policies. Judy Blue, great, we all know they're excessively high, but their buying amounts are super low. Like in most places, you can like drop $5,000. You only need a minimum order with Judy Blue for about $250. Spanish wool, you get maybe 2.5 styles, maybe 1.5 styles, depending on how big your open sizes are. But the thing is, trying the availability of getting them. You actually, that MAP price will work for you when you are in that time frame of being able to reduce that price, just to get them out there.
Yeah.
Because it's harder for average people, your doctors, your like teachers on their budgets to afford $80 pants, even though they can be high quality. Judy was more of a boutique brand and not so much as like a hard brand that everybody knows is in stores.
Right.
But we'll just throw that out there, right? Random. So MAP pricing can work for you. So for me, on the alignment, that also makes sense. You can work with a bigger, hot brand that has great quality. And that's the only time I think in my mind that the MAP pricing works for me is when those promotions hit during that time frame and forecasting a year in advance for that product.
Yeah.
Where it works again, she's on the smaller brands where they're running a sale during Black Friday and Cyber Monday for 35% off, and you're going to get everything at cost, and you're like, I gotta shoot 30%, let's do it, I have to match it, right? And we'll take our losses, let's match that price, and when you're a smaller brand, that really can hurt, like your inventory costs.
Yeah.
And how often are you running those sales? And does that mean as a brand, you have a lot of inventory sitting? So I think that last one, for me, that's a great question. I like that. Thank you. I like this scorecard.
Yeah.
So true to that, because like I talked to a couple of reps, and the question of how much are you buying never came up. It's like, here's the list of our product, here's the account, let's get you open, get you stuff ordered. They never asked me how much you buy, because I never, like, they were excited just to do business with. So that goes a long way.
Yeah, it does go.
Like, I know that they don't care how much you're buying, they just want to do it. With a new account, they want to build those relationships and get going.
Yeah.
And so that goes a long way to working with them in the future, because you know that they're gonna, they don't care about that end, they just want to have a relationship with the account.
Yeah, and it, like you said, it goes a really, really long way. And then if you have a brand that's pre-qualifying you with 17 questions.
Now that they want to like run random credit verifications at West and normally they don't practice credit verifications, why if I'm paying it up front?
Right.
Even if you're running that at so many accounts established, it's just active like, why am I giving you a credit? Or are we just really investing in another brand? I mean, I have nothing bad, let's do it, but you're not asking everybody for that information.
Yeah.
You don't get to your business store. And then your sales rep having to tell you, it's okay if we wait 2 weeks after the show. I can contact you directly. I'm in Schulenburg. Don't worry. Well, and we can avoid that. That's a problem for me. Like, when we work with the bigger brand. And like, to me, across the board, I get it. Like, I'm sure a lot of people like have their standard buyers, they know their buyers. But when you know that you have no idea if this could be as profitable, that's you as a sales rep. You are literally sleeping and leaving so much money on the table. You want to work with someone that's going to work for you, but also push your brand.
Yeah.
Understand the way you treat your business owner. They're there regardless to make money. They're pushing every brand. They wouldn't even look twice.
Well, that's a huge part of why I put like work collaboratively and like invest in the relationship. Because if you guys can't work collaboratively, or you're not, if you're not motivated to invest in the relationship, then like, man, it kind of stinks to say no to a brand because of the person that represents it.
Especially when it's
but sometimes, but sometimes it does happen. You mentioned Schulenburg. I've been to Schulenburg a million times because I have a lot of friends that are from Schulenburg. So that's funny that you mentioned them. But yes, so this subjective scale can help you with some of the undefined, like some of the soft skills or some of the things that are a little bit harder to quantify. Yeah, exactly. So then on my next slide is the boring part of sales numbers. So it's, received, how much you sold, your sell through, your margin dollars. I mean, all of those things are on here. Those are very, very typical things. Where this scorecard is a little different is I think it's more important for us to talk about not so much season to date sales like everybody is interested in, meaning our sales reps are interested in season to date sales. I think it's more interested to talk about the last 3 months, the last 6 months, or the last 12 months of sales and how our metrics start to look like when we look at the last 3, 6, 9 months. I only have the last 6 and 12 months labeled, but you can make it whatever you want. If the last 3 and 6 months are important for your business, then by all means do that. But when you start looking at a time of your business and not just season to date, like the last 3 months, we get a little bit of like summer clearance in there, but not too much. The last 3 months, we probably received a lot for Christmas, but we haven't sold it yet. So the last 3 months is kind of it's a tough window, especially if you do what I call front loading, if you receive a lot of product a few months early before you sell it. What I really like looking at though is the last 6 months and the last 12 months of performance that you have with brands. And when we extend into the last 6 months, when we extend into the last 12 months, then we get a more holistic view. Let's say that, to one of my examples earlier in the day, let's say that you buy 24 eggs, right, from a brand. If you only sold 1 egg out of the 24 that you got from them in a year, like you're probably not going to buy anything from them for a long time. And the beauty of this scorecard is that you can write it on here and you can review it with your brand. And you're like, look, I bought 24 from you and the last 12 months I've sold 1. Like I need to do something about this because I paid my invoice 9 months ago and I haven't even made my money back. I haven't made enough money back on your product to even pay the invoice. So I'm surprised I paid the invoice. So those are those things that we can start talking about when we extend the date range into 6 and 12 months. So that's why I prioritize looking at the last 6 and 12 months. But you start to have a more holistic view. Now on the opposite side, let's say that you ordered 24 eggs. We'll stick with 24. Let's say that you bought 24 and you sold all 24. Then next time you talk to that rep, you're going to be really excited. You're probably going to buy a bigger order. You're probably going to have the opportunity to negotiate a little bit more with them, maybe have some marketing things that you could do together. So like this is designed to look at the top level of the brand's performance. And the way that you fill this out is by running a brand selling report out of your point of sale. And just trying to fill out as many blanks as you possibly can. That's the vibe of the scorecard. And I just really tried to balance it between the subjective things and then the actual measurable numbers. And then the idea is that you do this maybe once every 3 or 6 months and you just kind of have a running trail of documents. And then it would be kind of cool to see how a brand shrinks and you've made this pinpointed effort to track your brand's progress and see them grow. And then doing this exercise is worth its weight in gold because then everybody's winning. Pun intended. So everybody's winning or the opposite. You could decide after you fill out the first part of this, you could decide, man, this brand is like a 3 on product, a 1 on service. They're doing terrible. I'm fed up with this brand. And then you get to the selling portion and you compare it to past selling portions. And you're like, well, the sales are going down. The service is going down. Like you have concrete evidence in your repertoire. Like I'm going to cut this brand. I'm going to break up with this brand is what I call it. But I don't want to do business with them anymore because they're just really not cutting it for me anymore. So that's kind of the goal with the vendor scorecard. And it's just something that I designed because it was a tool that I needed and it filled a gap for me whenever I was a buyer. So,
I love it. These make so much sense to me, the scorecard. Like, I think even it jogged me back to like basic questions that I forgot to start even asking. Like, I remember when I first started going to buyer shows, I always ask, okay, can you tell me about, like, do you guys like writing marketing materials? I have not even thought about that in like 5 months, honestly. And seeing it on, I'm like, man, I used to ask that all the time. Marketing materials, great, and like, and it could be, so I don't care if it's big or small, I need to remember, it could be like, even if it's a small shirt, and go ahead and fit within that collection so they can be liar.
Yeah.
They feel it's a trusted brand. I haven't even thought about that in like 4 months.
yeah.
Maybe 5, I've had multiple visits, but I remember in the beginning, I was really good and diligent about marketing materials and asking for those things. So I realized, there are a lot of inflation, a lot of costs on it, they're not willing to offer it to you, but if you ask for it, close mouths don't get fed.
Yes.
Yeah, and they'll also say yes or no, right?
Yeah.
So for the most part, like, or if they are a smaller brand and they don't have like integration tools for you to already link and integrate, do you have a file, a zip file of your high def images so I can go ahead and just download it, upload myself for the
Those dealer
Those are
resources.
so important.
Yeah.
Especially, or are we using tools on the back end that I can look at your in real time inventory of what you have in stock, knowing that I'm not replacing order and it's going to be out of stock? And I used to always ask those major questions up front. I literally, that kind of jogged me. These words, 10 out of 10.
Awesome.
I love that.
I'm glad you love it so much. Yeah, I mean, at least it gives you like a starting point for a conversation, right? And sometimes we just forget what to talk about. And inside of those tools, there is an agenda in there